So, welcome to Chapter 9 in our online videos. And Chapter 9, as you know, deals with interpersonal relationships. And an interpersonal relationship is defined as a perception shared by two or more people of an interdependent. So, again, there has to be some sort of dependency relationship that results in the development of expectations. So, with every interpersonal relationship, there's some expectations about how the other person's going to behave, what you're going to get out of it, etc. Okay, in order for there to be a true relationship, both individuals have to believe that there is an ongoing relationship. And, you might think about the old movie, He's Just Not Into You, into you from a few years ago. What if you don't think, what if both of you don't think of the relationship as the same way? And that sometimes happens. Relationships are dynamic. They go through several levels of trust, self-disclosure, and intimacy, and both partners do affect each other. There are expectations. Expectations can vary, and they can vary from one partner to the other, and they can create an uncertainty if they're violated. So you might think some about the expectations you have in a relationship and how they can sometimes be violated and what happens when they are violated. Okay, you want to understand the difference between a relationship of circumstance and a relationship of choice. And probably the most obvious example I can give you, a relationship of circumstance would be a classmate. Perhaps a roommate that you're assigned if you live in the dorms. So it's someone you didn't choose necessarily to have a relationship with that person. But fate or whatever, the powers that be just kind of threw you together. Of course, a relationship of choice is one that you would seek out or that you would both seek out. Okay, power is very interesting. Someone always has the power. Of course, that can change over time, or it can change depending on the situation. But in general, these are the types of power, and you want to pay attention to these because you will see questions about this on the test. So complementary relationships are when one person tends to dominate. There are usually few decision-making conflicts. That can be sometimes in the case of a parent and child, or it could be an employer-employee, but it's when one person tends to have, one person tends to be dominant, the other person is fine. Some people just are more submissive and don't like making decisions, and they like having a friend or a romantic partner who makes the decisions. Okay, symmetrical, you both want power, you both want to make the decisions, or you both want to avoid it, and that can happen. Have you ever had a friendship with someone and neither one of you really wanted to decide what you were going to do or where you were going to go when it got to be, well, what do you want to do tonight? I don't know, what do you want to do? So that can oddly be a problem if neither one wants to make the decisions. Okay, sometimes both people want power, so both of you want to decide where you're going to go. Sometimes neither one wants to take control. And sometimes power shifts back and forth depending on the situation. And that can be, I guess the most obvious example would be a work relationship that you might have, or a school relationship. If you're doing something, let's say, for example, you're working together on a project with a classmate, and technology happens to be this particular person's strong point. You might be perfectly happy to let her do the PowerPoint slides. Your strong point may be in the research or in the writing. So when you're discussing that or when you're working on that, you take control for that. So that can be very healthy when the power shifts back and forth. Okay, and in interpersonal attraction, that's when you want to form an interpersonal relationship with someone. in the degree you sense a potential for developing an so let's say you meet someone, it begins as a relationship of chance, but you see a potential for developing an interpersonal relationship, and then it can become long-term over time. Okay, sometimes the sources of initial attraction can include proximity. Just sitting close to someone in class, for example, you strike up a friendship, or living next door to someone in the same apartment building, you strike up a friendship, you start talking. Of course, physical appearance, we are attracted to people that we consider to be attractive. Okay. Sources that initiate and maintain relationships, confidence, self-disclosure, people who are willing to disclose, similarities, liking to do the same thing or having some of the same interests, and complementary needs. Okay, you want to learn the term Johari window in terms of self-disclosure. Each of us, think of it as a quadrant. Think of it as yourself. You're a quadrant. And there's one side that's known to you and known to others. So you like the color green, you have brown eyes, etc. These are things you know about yourself and other people know about you. Okay, opposite that are the things that you know about yourself but other people don't know. Oh, let's say you have a secret desire, you have a secret jealousy, you've always wanted something that you don't want to self-disclose. These are things you know others don't. In the bottom left could be things that people know about you that you don't know. Maybe you have a certain habit, maybe you wink your eye every time you say a certain word or something. You wouldn't necessarily know this. Other people would. And then there's a part that's very secret that you keep hidden even from yourself. So it's unknown to you and unknown to others. So those are just some of the terms that you